So, hey, cheers. We're here in Oak Harbor. I'm with my friend Wendy Fisher of Wendy Fisher Interiors. And we had quite a day today, heading up to Anacortes to look at what is now deemed Project Sugarhouse, an homage to my grandmother, Georgia Hass. And yeah, a lot of interesting things that are going to be happening here. So I figured, we said we were going to share this whole journey. So while we have a Manhattan instead of a dirty martini, which thank you, Tides of Anacortes, for my fun shirt that I got during the holidays. Always styled by Tides. Did a little visit there today. Hi, Marcia again. So you came up. God bless you for making the long journey.
The ferry ride, the long drive around. Mm-hmm. It was great.
Yeah, in the fog.
In the fog, in the sun, in the rain.
Yeah.
Everything.
So
yeah,
her
great.
version of planes, trains, and automobiles.
Yep.
But yes, so anyway, we said that we were going to go through this whole journey with everyone. Now, we didn't do a video while we were there, mostly because we were just having a hard time breathing. Because,
wow.
Woo, yeah. What were your first... Tell me, what were your first impressions after walking in the Sugarhouse?
Like maybe a pack of dogs lived there. You know what it smelled like?
It did?
It was very doggy. And no disrespect to anybody who loves their dogs, because dogs are fabulous.
Because Rusty's sitting right over here.
But it was, the house is empty. It's cold because nobody's living there. Mm-hmm. And there's no heat or electricity. Or water. But I know. I'm just getting your...
This is why we're having cocktails, because I'm still very sad.
I'm just getting your shame out there early, just so you know.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But, yeah, I mean, yeah. So, the dog smell was overwhelming.
The dog smell, we're both still trying to get the smell out of our sinuses. And I will have to take an extra allergy pill, I'm pretty sure. Tonight, because it's pretty intense, and the dogs have been out of the house for weeks. That's how bad.
Yeah.
So anyway, but besides the stench that we're both still recovering from, what else did you think about the house? Like, am I insane for having purchased the house?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, it's truly a worst house on the best block situation. And the house has a ton of potential. It was built in 1900. And so people have done a lot of things to it. The house is 120 years old.
They've been very mean to this house.
Yeah, some of it wasn't
Undeserving.
Some of it wasn't very complimentary. But there's a lot of potential there.
You are being so PC. Some of it's
well, I mean,
it's butt ugly.
Yeah, I mean, it's nasty if we're going to be honest.
Yes, let's get honest.
Okay, let's be honest. It's
That's
nasty.
What a Manhattan does. Is you get honest.
Right? It's got a pink living room and an orange. Mm-hmm. I don't even know what that space is.
I don't even know what that space is.
Anyway,
that's where they put the dogs in their books.
But honestly, there is so much potential. And as a client, you've come to this with your own ideas, but you're also really open to listening to what I have to say. When we walked in and saw where the laundry room was, and then we walked into that funny little room off of the back that was some kind of odd
the covered
add-on.
porch or patio
and
or whatever.
as soon as I said, gee, why don't we move the laundry room out here, which I don't know whether we'll do or not, but you were open to that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so that's what I think is going to help this project, is that you have your own ideas, you have the things that you're thinking about, but you're also open to other ideas.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
To make this house the best that it can be. And that serves the house.
I hope so.
It will.
And so for anyone who's watching this, like Brian, Edwin, Rod, hey, how you doing, man? So for anyone who watches this now or later, how I know Wendy is she's a past client of mine, but she also is an interior designer with her own business, Wendy Fisher Interiors, right? And so we've known each other for how many years?
Like 15.
Okay, yeah, that's probably right. Yeah, it's been a long time. Yeah.
Been.
So anyway, I've worked with her and her husband on a couple of different properties for themselves, and buy and sell and out in the Kitsap Peninsula and all of that. So that's also why I'm like, cheers to my friend, because she literally came all the way from like basically border of Bremerton, Silverdale, all the way to Oak Harbor to then also go to Anacortes with me. Like, it's been a trek. It's been a hell of a trek.
It's a full day. It's a full day operation.
Mm-hmm. Which is why she's staying here with me overnight, because she can't make it home tonight. So that's why we could have a cocktail, because we're not going anywhere right now. And it's Saturday night, for Christ's sake. Night, yeah. So there you go. So anyway, going into the house. So here's some of the fun stuff that I've learned about in the last couple of days. So as many of you know, I bought this house. It's a 1031 exchange, tax deferred exchange. It was going to be a rental for quite a while. And then I had already booked time with Wendy to come see this house in what I thought would be before I had it rented, so that we could start a design plan for a future remodel. And I've also learned that this house sits in Old Town, Anacortes, like it's right on the border. So the house next to me on the east side is in what they call the CBD, which is the Commercial Business District. I'm the first house on my block that's in Old Town. And one of the permissible uses there, or zoning options, is for a duplex. So I don't know if I can get it yet or not, but I'm thinking about it, because maybe this house could be split into 2 units. And I also know that that town is also, having a hard time having reasonable cost housing for the people who live there and have been there for a long time. And the thing is like, I have long-term plans for this house. So I'm just looking at what are my options, which is why when I decided to purchase that particular property, I could see, that's what I do for a living, right? I help people buy and sell homes, help myself buy and sell homes and investment properties. And the Oak Harbor house that you see that we're sitting here right now, this was totally like, you could move in, you could use it right away. This is going to be a vacation rental. So that's why it's all decorated out, because this will be used in that purpose. Well, the other house is going to be hopefully, now I don't know. I have no idea, but it's not like I'm going to move in it right away. So it's going to be used as some form of rental over time, whether that's vacation rental or long-term rentals, what have you. Hey, Kathleen, how are you? Hey, girlfriend, you were asking me about what's going on with the Anacortes house. This is where you're going to find out. Kathleen is a longtime friend of mine. She's a paralegal that's worked in the timber industry forever, and she's amazing and smart and brilliant. I love you. Rod actually was someone I used to perform with. In Just In Case. Yeah. Linda, hi. Good to see you too. Linda's been on the show before too. She's been involved in all kinds of nonprofit work over time.
I love that you can actually read that. I can't see
It's only because it's that far away. If it was closer, I'd have to be like, where's my reading glasses? It's the only reason.
Okay.
So anyhow, so I had already reached out to Wendy when I first bought this place and said, hey, I have long-term plans. Please come and let's look at it together, because first of all, I love your eye, right? Like, I've seen the homes that you own because I've helped you buy them. But you have gorgeous taste. I've loved always coming to your home, and I've seen work that you've done on other properties, and I'm just like, I think you are absolutely my choice on this. And while I know a lot about property, most of mine is knowledge about structure. It's about issues. And I knew when I bought this house, there was going to be a lot of things to fix. The inspection report alone, Lisa Lotus from Taurus Home Inspections, thanks again. I knew, like, okay, over time, this is what I'm going to have to invest in this house. But as you said, I bought the ugliest house on a really cute street. That is a block and a half off Commercial Ave, and all the cool shops, all the cool restaurants, all the neat stuff, right? So it's going to be a popular place for whoever rents it from me in the future. I just didn't see having to do the renovations of this level so soon. So here we are. And so I took Wendy in so we could start getting measurements. Mm-hmm. You could see the space. Mm-hmm. Hopefully the potential that I saw.
Yeah.
But so you walked in, I mean, you mentioned the laundry room, but like overall, like the aesthetic of the home, what the potential is, like what do you, when you think of it from your design perspective, what kind of talks to you in that house?
I mean, I love the age of the house.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's just, I've never done a house quite this old.
Oh, okay.
Right? So like the oldest house that I did was around the probably 1950 to 1920.
Oh,
era.
okay.
So, but it was also a little bit different. It was in a different area.
Right.
And so I love the age of this home. They've obviously, it's been added on to, and there have been some additions made to it, mm-hmm. but they haven't entirely stripped the home of all of its interesting features.
Right.
They did some horrible things to the staircase that I hope we will be able to. Yeah. Well, not that I hope, that I know we'll be able to fix, depending on the fix will depend on what we do going forward. But there's still enough there to work with. Yeah. Right? To make it
they like to say the bones.
Yeah,
the bones of the house.
The bones are there. And then I think when we put it back together, the things that we can do to recognize its mm-hmm. age and its era, etc.
I want to honor that. Yeah. For sure. And that's why it's the grandma Sugarhouse, right? Because it has elements that evoke my great memories of my grandma house.
Sure.
Growing up in Kansas.
Yeah.
And because she had this beautiful banister going up to a second story, and I loved it. But
we still need to make it livable for the way that people live today.
Yes.
And so I think that, like I said, there's been a lot of changes made to the house, but I don't think it's been changed so dramatically that we can't sort of step back and say, here's where it started, mm-hmm. and then how do we address that going forward? Right. And with all the damage in the house, I'm sorry, I know I keep ribbing you about that, but it's just because I want you to laugh about it, because someday it'll be fabulous.
I honestly, you guys, thank you, Rusty. Rusty's here to join us and get his face in our snacks.
Sit. Rusty, sit.
Russ, sit. Please. Sit. There you go. Thanks. That's awesome. Okay. Anyway, back to this. So I had my meeting with my claims adjuster yesterday, and that almost got me crying last Saturday, because I had a recognition. So this house had a Zinsco panel in it. So for any of you who don't know, Zinsco panels are very dangerous. Zinsco and Federal Pacific panels are ones that were from around the 60s, 70s, that the design on them, or somehow the way they were manufactured, insulation inside of the circuit breaker panels would often fail and then cause arcing and oftentimes start fires. And a lot of fire departments, definitely, if they know you have one, is oh gosh, because they're the poster child of how some house fires can start. So I had this moment of absolute panic last Friday when we had identified that the power was still on to the house, but that panel had failed. So when you guys saw me do my video before, the panel hadn't failed yet. I found out from workmen who were sent out to start getting me bids on replacing the furnace and a bunch of other things, doing the remediation and water mitigation and all of that. We started with the heating, the plumbing, the water damage, and then somehow, we don't even know yet why, between the Sunday that I was there and when the workmen were there, the panel died. And then I had this moment after talking to Puget Sound Energy, telling me that the house was still energized. Then this absolute panic, because the houses are super close together, and I had this terrified moment of like, oh my God, if that house catches on fire now, I was less worried about me. I was more worried about my neighbors. And especially because my neighbors to the west, who were the ones who helped me through this whole thing and who helped stop the water damage and turned off the water main and all of that, they're in the middle of renovating their house. And the last thing I want to have happen is my house have yet another catastrophic failure that impacts their lives. And so, it just like, I could barely stand it, drove up there the next day, made sure the panel was off, then also called PSE and said, please shut off power to the house. So right now, everything is just made for safety, which is why we had to be, we'll deal with a little bit of discomfort. And that's why we're having a Manhattan to warm up, because the house was cold. And this is when it's in the 40s. Imagine what that house was like when it was in the teens, when we had the snowstorm. Yeah. I don't even want to think about it. So anyway, I met with the adjuster yesterday. We'll see what happens. I'm a little nervous because the people who had the house before me didn't take care of it very well, and I'm hoping to not be denied because of lack of maintenance on their part. Because I did as much as I could, so we'll see. But beyond that, I'm going to give a little shout out to my buddy Eric Osnes over at Homebridge. I currently have some funding coming in from my house in Renton. So I took out a line of credit. I'm able to get that in like 5 days. The funding's coming in next week. Great product. If you were looking to do stuff, talk to Eric about it. Eric at ericasmybanker.com, or you can go to his ericasmybanker.com website and reach out to him. But very fast line of credit. I got to tell you guys, this is amazing because normally it takes 60 to 90 days to get a HELOC on your house. And I'm able to do this in like 5 days. So we've got funding coming in no matter what that will help cover whatever insurance doesn't cover. Because that's the whole thing. When you've got your insurance going on stuff like this, they only cover so much. They also don't cover the build it back part. Right. They cover the what got damaged. They don't necessarily make you all whole on all of it. So in this instance, I knew immediately, like, oh my God, I'm going to have to do so much more than paint and carpet and a few other things. It's okay. Yeah. So that's why we went ahead and had our meeting. We are going to have plans coming up. Yep. I'm currently in the process of working through what the insurance agent, or not agent, the claims adjuster told me that I needed to work on in terms of process, which is I need to get power back to the home so that the mitigation people can come in, because they need to be able to put fans in there. Because I'll tell you the stuff I don't know. Like, I'm aware of like mitigation and familiar with the process of it. But what I didn't get, like when I was talking to the guys who said, hey, we're going to cut out all the stuff that was water damaged. In my mind, I think, oh, so everything that's wet, you're going to take away and I don't have to worry about it anymore. And with the power off, and the guy I was talking to, and he's like, yeah, most of our tools are all battery and a lot of it's just physical labor, what have you. So I thought, okay, are you sure you don't need power? He's like, nope, we're going to be fine to start. Then in talking to the claims adjuster, he's like, no, they're going to need power because they can't just pull the stuff out. Because this is the Northwest and because it's so moist here all the time, you can't assume that the place will dry out entirely and get rid of all.
Not in the winter.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially not in the winter. And we're supposed to have an unusually wet winter. Duh. Snow. Yeah. Okay. Cold and wet. And as we all know, we've had flooding. We've had unusual amounts of rain. Our soils are maxed out right now in terms of just being, you can't walk anywhere without it being sopping wet and you like splash into it and it's a big mud hole, right? So when he said that, I was like, duh. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. For some reason, I just thought he could come in and like scrape all the stuff out and it would be done. But no, they're going to have to bring in the fans. They're going to have to bring in the stuff to make sure that mold spores don't take hold, because that is what the insurance company's there to make sure doesn't continue on. They have to dry
out the house.
Yeah, so it's not just rip out that stuff. They have to completely dry it out. So we're in this process. I'm learning a lot that I plan on conveying here. So now it's the deal with the power. I've learned about temporary power. We may have to do that. If the electricians can start the new panel, because we can't keep that piece of junk that's in there right now, which is dead anyway. I have no idea why. So those things will get started. But in the meantime, what are you going to do? So you started working on building out the floor plan and stuff today.
Right.
And you'll finish more tomorrow.
Yeah. So I've got to go back and get all the measurements so that I can put it into CAD and see where we are. And from there, then I'll take into consideration the things that you said you wanted to do, and position those in a different floor plan or a revised floor plan, and hopefully throw some things at you that you're like, oh, that's even better.
Yeah, right? That's what I'm really looking forward to, because if we end up, because we have to do some work in parallel, right? That's why the partnership of working with your designer is so key.
Yeah.
Because the communication, trying to express what you're trying to accomplish, but being open to what will and will not work. Yeah. Suggestions, and then also, because remember, I wanted to, since the duplex is a potential option, I have to get a hold of the city of Anacortes to find out, well, is that really actually an option? Because if it is not, it will impact the way we design the house. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So, because that kitchen upstairs, well, why would you do that if you can't make the dual?
It would be weird.
It would, yes. Unless you just have people who like snacking in the middle of the night.
Kitchen off of your bedroom.
But you know what? That's a great, okay, hold on. That's a great design question, though. Because remember, there was a period of time where master suites, or pardon me, primary suites, were trying to change that language. I should say that, especially because it's MLK weekend. Primary suites, for a period of time, were starting to get, I mean, it wasn't just like a little coffee bar and a wet bar. Like, they were starting to kind of be, this is my place away
from everybody.
Yes, particularly children.
My family.
Like, I can start my morning without having to be disturbed by anyone, or you have your evening and whatever. Is that still a thing?
No.
Okay, that went away a while.
No.
Okay, thank you.
I don't, okay. I don't see it. I don't see anybody asking for it. Okay. I mean, an opportunity in your private space to have a place to sit down and have a glass of wine with your partner or by yourself or however. That's one thing, but the full-on wet bar, not so much.
Okay.
Depends on who you are, but not really so much.
Does it depend on price point?
It might. I think it depends on who the person is.
Because I have thought about putting a little coffee bar in the house that I have in Renton. Yeah. Just because, in the morning, basically, I get up, because I do my workouts because I have a large primary suite. Yeah. And I do my workouts there, and I've thought, because I have to get up and then go downstairs and feed the dog and do all this stuff, and I get the coffee, and, and then I back upstairs.
So, no, that's different.
Okay.
Right? So I
do lead a very different life than a lot of people.
But not really. Because the first time that I was introduced to that was way back in my corporate days when I was very young. Yeah. In my 20s. And I know, right? Yeah. Long time ago. And I worked with a woman who had just bought a house, and I went over to see it because I was always very interested in design before I got into it. And she showed me around her new house, and it was very interesting because she showed me her primary suite with her ensuite bathroom. And she said, and over here, I have just a little coffee maker that just makes 2 cups of coffee, but it just makes so much difference because I don't have to go down the hall to the kitchen, start it, come back in here and take my shower, then go back down there and get it. And she said, it's just 2 cups of coffee. I don't need anything more than that, but I can fill it I could fill the carafe from the sink, and this was in the Mr. Coffee days, right? Personally, I'm not a coffee drinker, so
that's good to know for in the morning, because my coffee maker's downstairs.
Yeah.
I have one up here too.
I'm totally a tea drinker.
Good. Yay. There's tea up here.
I know. Okay. I saw that already.
Awesome. Okay.
Yay. But it was the first time, in my 20s, looking at somebody who was adapting their house for the way that they lived in it, and I thought, boy, wow, that is brilliant to put a coffee maker in your bathroom. And she had a lovely, like, really large countertop space, and it was just her. So there was another sink, but she wasn't sharing it with anybody.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that that's outrageous. I mean, I think that that's a pretty simple. Okay. It depends on how your house is laid out, how far it is, whether you're a person who needs to get up in the morning and wander around, or whether you hit the bathroom, you just need everything to happen, and then you leave your primary space and go out into the rest of your house. So I don't think that that's unreasonable, and I don't even think it's remotely out there.
Well, and given that, so some of the stuff you've been learning over today as we've been chatting, and what my life is like. So I've been working from home. A lot of you have been working from home the last couple of years. I've been a remote worker for almost 25 years.
Right.
Because I've been doing this over 18 years, and for 5.5 years, I was a remote worker in other industries, in software. And so this has been a very different thing. And now my house, especially with COVID, I have multiple people who come to my house for different meetings and to do different tasks for my company. And the vast majority of my 3,000 square foot house, I have a roommate who has 740 square feet downstairs. My entire first floor of my house is just for my business. We have what used to be my guest suite that has a longer than typical countertop in the bathroom. I used to have a small coffee maker there, which now is down here. Because I figured, like, if I had house guests, if they woke up earlier than me, but they wanted to make a cup of coffee, it was kind of like having if you go to a hotel, right? And you have a coffee maker in your room, that kind of thing. And I started thinking, like, oh, okay, well, if I have a guest, they can have their own coffee in the morning, not feel like they have to be put out, like figuring out my kitchen and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And I thought, well, maybe I could also have that up there. But now, like, my kitchen is partly also utilized by my staff. My dining table is our conference center. My living room is becoming our video location. All 4 bedrooms on that floor, 3 of them are offices, and 1 of them is for all of our soft staging goods. I mean, so right now, like, my bedroom is my sanctuary away from work, because if I go down,
private space now.
It is, because if I walk downstairs, I feel like I need to work. And it becomes overwhelming over time, right? And I'm already naturally a workaholic. So I never get away from it. And then just the demands of the job make that happen. Right? So, it's what it is. But I guess I'm thankful I made that change to that house a long time ago, because my parents had their accident, and it made sense at the time, because like half even my garage is for the hard goods of the staging. But it's a place that I still enjoy. But I guess now I'm excited because the things I get to do with these properties up here are more about me thinking about personal spaces. Because I've had to think about workspaces for so long. That now I'm really excited. Because, I mean, maybe that's why I actually like doing the staging of our clients' homes. Because I get to think about personal space. And your point is 100% correct. You have to think about how you live your life. Like, because every house, like, I have people all the time like, oh, here's like kind of the basics of the house I want. But the reality is, you have to think, like, the questions we ask all the time in our work, which you're now having to kind of apply to me, is I'm like, I have to think about the where you live and the what you're living in. You think about how am I using it daily. Because I always ask, like, how many butts in the kitchen? Right? Are you cooking alone? You cooking with a lot of people? How many people are going to live in this house? How many people are going to visit this house? Do you like to entertain? Are you a homebody? Do you
These are all
not like?
questions I ask.
Yeah. See, this is why we are going to work well together, because no one ever asked me that.
Right. But you know, I mean, to be a designer, you have to ask those questions because that's how you make a house work for somebody. You know, I mean, I always think of, especially since COVID, I think about it. It's like we work to have a house, a home that is our own, but we really need to make that house work for us.
Oh yeah.
You know, and just because that's the dining room and that's the living room, it doesn't mean you have to live in it that way.
Yes.
And if you want a coffee maker in your bathroom, you should do it. If you want a wine bar in your bathroom, okay, I hope it's a big bathroom, but whatever.
Yeah.
But you know,
I'll take
however,
a glass of wine in the bathtub with me.
Right.
Probably not doing other stuff with it.
Right.
But yeah.
And you
if
know,
your wine cooler's in there, I gotta wonder.
Right. I know. Right. This my wine cave is in my bathroom. That's wrong.
That's called go to, what is that, Betty Ford
Ford
Center? Immediately.
Or buy a different house where you don't have to have a wine cave in your bathroom.
Yeah.
There's that too.
True.
But, you know, I mean, I think it's just important for people to realize that when you walk in and look at a house, just because somebody said, oh, that's the dining room, it doesn't have to be. And I think we've all become more aware of that during COVID. Our dining rooms,
because we're
and our
really in
rooms,
our houses all the time.
All of the rooms are serving multiple purposes.
Yes. Did you notice that this house doesn't have a dining area?
Yeah, and I suspect that where they've built out this little wall at some point, that was probably a nook over there.
Oh, possibly.
Where along the wall there, where they had a small like kitchen table.
That might be.
Yeah, that's what I think, because I think this part over here was added.
Yeah, we're in a mid-century modern with it's an interesting galley kitchen, but it's circular in design so that I don't hate it, because normally I can't stand a galley kitchen. Yeah. Because it's normally kind of a one-butt kitchen. This is a nice, because it's wide, it's actually a bit of a pass-through two-butt kitchen at least. Yeah. So yeah, this is a completely different kind of location. But yeah, I'm excited about the house in Anacortes. The Sugarhouse project is going to be amazing. The thing I'm worried, it's going to be awesome. It just might be an epically long journey, because here's what we're also going to learn as we go through this. Supply chain has its challenges, right? And, thanks, Diane. Yes. Yeah, she's saying great points on the having space and workspace, Reba. I appreciated hearing that. Yeah, there's more I'm going to read when we're done. But it really, where was I going with that before I got distracted by your comment? What was I saying? I read Diane's comment and then I'm like lost. I know, I was talking about the butt kitchens and stuff. Anyway, supply chain. Yeah. So supply chain is a challenge. So this is something I haven't talked about with Wendy yet. So this is why this is always interesting to do this on a live format. And we're going to keep doing these things, by the way, you guys.
I didn't get the questions in advance, just so you know.
No. She got the cocktail in advance, which is why you're getting it's truth serum. It's truth serum here right now. No, so I have for a very long time been also about eco-friendly. So we had posted photos before, like there's the wood floors in the areas that, thank God, were not damaged. There's the original wood floors. Mm-hmm. So we're very much looking forward to the idea that there's a chance to refinish those and make them look great. I did get, the same day that I met with the insurance adjuster, I got Warren 2 doors down from me, let me go in his house, and he showed me some of the stuff. I'll post pictures later of what the original format was of the hallway as you came in. And so I'm really excited about the idea of maybe kind of bringing that back to life a little bit. Even if it's not the full thing, at least bringing part of that and making that a nice entryway. Because right now it is ugly as hell. Yeah. But I like eco-friendly. I love the fact that we can refinish something that's already there. anything that is earth-friendly products, I'm interested in having, especially healthy, because as we've already mentioned, like the allergies and stuff, I have problems with allergies. I have problems with chemical-based type stuff. So I need it to be a healthy house. And I also am very interested, and Wendy already knows this part, universal design on the main floor. Anyone who's not familiar with that terminology, universal design is usually very friendly for like aging in place. And so whether it's, wider doorways, the way the handles work, materials, cabinet heights, any of those kinds of things, it's supposed to be thoughtful about how you might age over time and usage of a space. And so I really want to have kind of that aspect thought about in part of this.
Well, yeah, because it's about keeping you in your home over time.
Right. And which is what everybody prefers, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing is, just I'm not going to go over the top on stuff. What I'm looking for with Wendy is that kind of like with architects who like to be challenged in things, like there's going to be stuff like we want it to look high quality. We want it to have a nice luxurious feel. That doesn't necessarily mean breaking the bank either, right? So we're going to be, interested in, I want high quality, but it doesn't have to, if there's stuff that's from local, I don't know. We're going to have all those conversations over time, right? About what that looks like, because you have access to everything that's out there, but the supply chain may limit what we have access to. So we're going to have to get creative.
Sure.
Hence why I have you here.
Well, so you were talking about, high quality, and high quality is about the materials that you use, and it's not about everything has to be marble, because that's not true. It's about choosing the right material for the space. I think high quality starts with good design. Good
design and durability for me.
Like just thinking about how are we going to use this space? What are we going to do here? How do we make this the most effective use of the space? Because I think that's where it starts. Yeah. And
I want durability too.
Well, yeah, but then you layer in your finishes.
Right.
Yeah. And so that's, your tile, your cabinetry, your countertops, all of those other things. Yes. That's where you layer in those finishes. But honestly, and I'm sure that you guys have heard this forever, but a pretty room is useless if it's not useful. Yeah. Right? If it doesn't serve a purpose, it's like the room that you walk through that nobody ever goes into. Oh, isn't that pretty? Yeah. But nobody uses it. Right. I'd rather have a useful room.
Yes. I want useful. And when I also talk about durability, I guess I should probably define that a little bit, because durability for me is, I like to look at design as not fad.
Right. So,
So for me, like, what's interesting, like this house is a mid-century modern, and there are some elements to it that have stayed fairly true over time. And honestly, the bathroom and the kitchen both have marmoleum flooring, which at the time, which is actually an eco-friendly product and massively durable, and it's neutral enough that it lasts. It's lasted for decades. Right. And so that I really enjoy. This has its original oak hardwoods. Fine. I'm sorry, but you will not see agreeable gray paint in this house. For God's sake. I am so tired of that color. Yeah. I can't tell you how tired I am of that color. And you can pretty much tell me the age of a house. And when I walk through it, because of fads for particular time periods, I can tell you exactly, they did that in the 90s. They did that in the 70s. They did that in the 50s. They did that and whatever. Because we always say housing is history. And so you're going to get a little bit of a history lesson that's tied into design as part of this whole thing. Yeah. So I think it's going to be kind of fun. I'm excited about it. I know this is a really long Facebook Live. Thank you for everyone. Pamela, hello. Pamela Mattingly is on here.
Hey, Pammy. How you doing?
Hi. Oh, my God.
Wow.
And cheers to that. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. How fun is that? my brother. Hi, Mark. How are you? Oh my God, how fun. So anyway, this is going to be a good time, not just because we're doing cocktails.
Hey, Pam, tell Mike we said hi.
Yes. Oh my God, how fun.
I know.
Yeah. I love all the interconnections. So anyway, yes, this will be quite the project. It's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be educational. It's going to continue on that path. And honestly, as we go along, any feedback, comments, questions you guys have, because there's going to be a whole laundry list of things that are going to happen. Photos will come across. We're going to keep doing videos.
We'll show floor plans.
Yeah, I'm really excited to kind of share this because I get this
materials.
Yeah, I get questions all the time from people about what should I do with my house when people look. And here's also something I'm really excited to help kind of debunk or demystify. A lot of people don't really know how to engage with someone like you, Wendy. So I think getting people to understand the value that you bring into a project and what you do and how that shows up in the final, floor plan, design, functionality of a house. It's really important because people want to ask me all the time, and there's so much that I can, there's a certain limit of what I can say. And there's a certain knowledge base that I have. But honestly, Wendy's been on my radio show multiple times for a reason, because she's an expert in her field. And you spend identify when it's identify when it's right in front of you. But you're spending that time and effort and conscious, part of your work in learning all of that and being on top of it.
Sure.
And I can be on top of design trends, but honestly, I always will fall back to someone with your knowledge base, because there's a reason why it's Team Reba, and I see our team as not just who works with me, but it's always the people that we know and that we refer to and that are part of kind of like that interconnectedness that we have, because I have given your name out to numerous people over the years.
Who've called me, thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
And I've worked for a lot of them.
Yes, and there's a reason why, because you are quality, and I know it, and I've seen your work, and I'm excited to be a recipient of it.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
I'm excited to work with you. I mean, I feel like, I've said it 100 times since you first called me about this, but this is going to be a great project. Yeah. I'm excited about how open you are to ideas, and that makes a huge difference. That makes a huge difference when you work with an interior designer, if you're open to ideas, because that's what we bring to the game is our ideas. And it just,
because you're open, you get exposed to so much.
We get to see a lot, and to help people understand that and be able to expand into it with a level of comfort. No, when you started showing me, but you also have to have trust.
You do, and I do absolutely trust you. So it's having talked with you about things, and also seeing how you work and you explaining your process. For me, it's also, here's another thing. I'm a busy working professional. How many of you are always like, oh, Reba, you're so busy. Reba, you're involved in all these things. You do all this volunteerism. You do all this other stuff. I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, I do. Do you think I have time to manage this whole thing by myself? No.
That's what I do.
She's here.
This is what I do. I get to take some of the weight off of Reba by working once we get through the design process and get to the construction process. I get to take some of the weight off of her by working with her contractor, so that she doesn't have to be available to answer every single tiny little question. Gee, we found this funny thing. How should, we can do A with it or B with it. And this is the thing for me, like, I'm big about leadership roles in the thing that you like be in your lane, be the genius of what you know. Well, this is your genius. What basically you're doing for me. It is. And the idea is that I get to talk with you about my vision,
And you get to help bring that to life. And I'm trusting, like you said, trust is the number one thing. I get to trust that you're going to take that vision, because we're going to talk about that all in advance.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can go, okay, go make it happen. Right?
Yeah.
And I am so looking forward to that, because like my team and I talk about this all the time. We do a lot of Darren Hardy type stuff. If you haven't read The Compound Effect, big fan. He's got a ton of programs. Hero's Journey, I'm starting next week with my team. And the concept of leadership is you don't have to be the head of the team to be the leader. You have to be the leader in what your knowledge base and your role is. And that is why Wendy's involved in this, because I see you as a leader in your space. I see you as helping me get this thing moving forward so that I can trust that, hey, we're talking it out, working through like what I'm trying to accomplish. You're going to bring great ideas. And then I'm going to say, okay, go help make it happen.
Right.
And it will take it. The relief involved in that is amazing. Because obviously, honestly, when this whole thing went down, I'll admit, I've cried a couple times.
If you've only cried a couple, I'm impressed.
It's only because it's just started. I'm sure I'll cry some more. And I don't cry a lot. Well, no, I cry more now than I used to. But yeah, there's stress and tension, and I get that. But working with someone who's going to be a professional behind this is, it gives me confidence in moving forward that we're going to do it. We're going to do it right. And the thing is, because she knows materials really well, we'll be able to have some really good conversations about what would be the appropriate use in this space, that will provide all the things that I am looking for and needing, and that will also be aesthetically very attractive.
Sure.
Right? Because that's the thing. It's like, that's what we're looking for.
Yeah.
So, can't wait for it to happen. I wish we could just go.
Right.
And
a year from now we'll do this.
Yeah.
Or maybe 2 years.
I was going to say, what is your guess on how long?
It depends on, we haven't worked out yet exactly what we're going to do.
Yeah.
When.
Yeah. And I still have the insurance people.
Yes. I would say a year.
2 years?
Your minimum.
Year,
yeah, year minimum. Depending on what we finally end up with, all the things we want to do, 2 years would not be out of line.
That's what I was figuring is probably going to be close, especially because we're talking. Here's the thing: it's not just the interior. The outside's fugly too.
Way fugly.
The outside's probably fugglier than inside. The inside's just damaged. No, wait, no, no, never mind. It's fugly all around. It's fugly. It's
a pretty.
It's got good bones. It's got good bones. It really does. That's like when you see the baby that you're like, oh, it's adorable. We all know the code words.
That was so bad.
I know it was.
Oh, you're gonna burn.
But you all know. I probably have some hate mail from that one.
You're gonna burn for that one, girl.
The house is adorable.
We were from houses to babies, and that was wrong.
I blame the Manhattan. Okay. Anyway, we need to go make dinner. Yes, we're definitely going to stop this now.
Before Reba digs a bigger hole.
Anyway, yeah, the house is fugly though. It's got good bones. It's got good bones.
And it's going to be cute as a baby when we're done.
Cuter.
Cute.
Adorable baby.
All right, I'm going to stop trying to save you. That's just not, you're not taking it.
Okay. So anyway, it'll be a fun project. So anyway, thanks everyone. And this is going to go on my YouTube channel, and we're going to be doing other photos and other things along the way. So get prepared. It's going to get interesting and hopefully fun. Seriously, while we're doing it, if you guys have questions, if you have design questions for Wendy, reach out. She's tagged on a bunch of this stuff, but also we're happy to like give feedback and tell you what the heck is going on, right? So if there's things that you want to learn about throughout this whole process, great time to do it. If you want to learn more about Wendy and some of her background, also my podcast out there, Open House with Teen Reba, you can find that. Look for Wendy. You can like search for it. You've been on.
I'm on
two or three times at least.
Been on there
2 times at least, maybe three. Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah. So anyway, it's all out there. We're gonna have her on again, of course, and
because we have to talk about this.
Yep, we're totally gonna talk about this. So anyway, take care. Hope you guys have a great rest of your Saturday night.
Bye, Pam Mattingly.
Bye, Pam.